Sit, turn type, sit. Good boy. Ruff.
Fox 5, they're like, Guns N' Roses coming back next year, August. Get your tickets. Like, people are like, oh yeah, that's great. Like, I can't wait to go to the show. Right?
Well, you think about it. That's now that's the fad now. That's a trend now.
We're a nostalgic generation,
right? If you look at hip hop sales as of late, artists, Mobb Deep just had a big album. Clips, Slick Rick had an album this year. Kwame.
Isn't Prodigy passed away a couple of years ago?
Right, but they were able to have old recordings and put them on him, and it sounded good.
So Guns N' Roses,
Big L, all these like hip hop.
Well, Big L.
Ghostface had a Supreme Clientele too. Is a fucking phenomenal album. So like, that's now become the new thing because that generation, Selly's generation, they're into that older stuff. She buys cassettes.
You know what's interesting too, because like my generation, right, and even like yours, a little bit toward the end, but definitely mine, we were big into vinyls. Right. We were the vinyl generation, and it's crazy how like they're buying cassettes.
Yeah, I'm telling
you, why? Like, because this evil device, the Terminator.
You're referencing the cell phone.
Yeah, the Terminator. It's Bill Burr had a great bit. It's just like, what was, God rest his soul, what was Steve Jobs thinking? Like, all right, I want all my music on my phone. Get on it.
But it's not only that. It's everything. Like everything. I was just having a conversation. By the way, guys, having a conversation with our boy Hank Flanagan, stopping in as always. It's end of the year. We have to have a conversation with our guy. Big things is happening for him, and got to say that I'm proud to say that through it all, he still remembers us here at Turnbuckle Tabloid, as well as on the network, New York Wrestle Media, as well. So So when it comes to the genre of what was years past is now being embraced by the younger generation that we have now, because it seemed more of a simpler time than what it is now to some. They don't know because they didn't see what we saw. But it seems that with them, when it came to style,
they want something real.
Yeah, and making music was, especially those who are musicians, they realize what it is now to pick up a guitar or to pick up an instrument and play it, as opposed to getting behind a DAT board and hitting buttons and stuff.
Well, that was birthed out of spinning tables, right?
Yeah.
If you look, I was listening to Ball with the Ball by Kid Rock on the way here. Classic, right? This is like, and I like how what they call quote unquote butt rock or divorced dad rock is like making this huge comeback, and people are like, yeah, Nickelback was, we don't know what you're talking about. Nickelback was cool. Creed was awesome, right? Like if you look at if you hear Kid Rock's Ball with the Ball, in the guitar solo is also a turntable solo too.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. And he mixed, and it was why it was so popular at the time, because cultures were not clashing, they were kind of coming together. You know what I mean? Like, look at DMX's performance. People like, you talk all day about when we've spoken at length about Woodstock 99, right? The biggest hip hop artist on that bill, right, was DMX, right?
Yeah.
And then you had Limp Bizkit play after. It's like, yeah, let's rile these people up.
That and Limp Bizkit, their set was insane as well during that time.
Yeah, obviously. And I wonder what was going on in your generation. Like, what were you guys like in an economic time? Like, look at pro wrestling. Pro wrestling was never as big as it was, and you could talk about the the '80s wrestling boom, but wrestling 9 million or I think 10 million people watched pro wrestling
Right.
in America at the time, right? And that includes the World Wrestling Federation, that includes World Championship Wrestling, right? Like it was hot TV. It competed with, to an extent, Monday Night Football. When people weren't watching Monday Night Football, people were watching pro wrestling. So much so where, these memes of just like, what's in like, what's the ick, right? And one of them is like, guys who watch pro wrestling, and all these grown men with children are just like, yeah, I work and I pay my bills. I'm gonna watch what the fuck I want to watch. Like
you say that I was in training the other day, and one of the trainers knows of me. He knows me for years already because I've gone through those halls, and he knows what I do. He knows that I podcast, and he follows the shows and such. So when they was doing the introduction, he already threw his hands. He goes, "Oh, I already know what this is gonna be, but go ahead, Santy, do your." And he even said, "Do your promo." And and the way that I always describe it to people is, I say I have a podcast about half naked men and women who like to argue with each other and say that they're better than one another, and who try to grab each other and hold each other to the ground or do certain holds to show that how dominant they are. And everybody just pauses for a second. I go, "Yeah, I do a podcast about professional wrestling." And
integral part of American culture.
And the trainer, he turns and he says, "Yeah, that's you guys. You guys have your own reality shows. That's our reality show. Professional wrestling is our reality show."
Well, do you remember the Dark Side of the Ring episode about Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth?
Yeah.
And Jake the Snake Roberts are just like, these are Kentucky people.
Yeah.
Wrestling's real. People are fake.
Yeah. But that's what it's when we look at everything on the surface, especially everything nowadays, everything just seems to be fake. I'm sorry, but I know, and I'm a fan as well too.
Dirty word.
But no, I'm moving off to another topic of fake, in which is people's their anger, their rage, their people being upset about certain things. I know a lot of people gave Bill Burr a lot of shit for taking that Saudi money. And I'm wondering if is it because he took the money, or they just think he's contradictory?
When it comes to people's wallet, their wallet will always win. Period. Do you remember that episode of King of the Hill where they go to Megalomart, which is a play on Walmart, and they do their shopping at Walmart. Or Megalomart, they get their meat, right? And the Texans, they always eat steak, right? And Hank, the grill master, like he's the grill master, and he has his steak, and it's not good. So then he goes to like a co-op, where they sell quote unquote organic. Well, they sell organic food, and it's run by hippies. And he goes, and he's like, this better be good steak, and it's amazing steak, obviously, right? So Hank helps them, like, conservative dude. He helps them make a business out of it, right? So they're like, they call him at work, right? And he's like, "Well, what's this, Hank?" And it's just like, "Yeah, that's called profit," And it's just like, you don't need profit to better your lives. You could use this profit to, like, make the store better,
right?
Instead of like, this person doing an interpretive dance, like maybe they could use this hand truck and put all the strawberries and display them nicely.
Yeah.
So then obviously they have a great business model because Hank, right, put this business model in, and Megalomart comes and buys them.
Yeah, which is
so then Hank goes up,
that capitalism.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So but Hank does the appropriate capitalism. Megalomart does the unethical capitalism, right? So, and he goes, the meat obviously isn't the same, but they call it organic.
Right.
And then he looks at all these hippies who are just like, I have dental insurance, and I can pay my bills now. And Bill Burr, who is living in California with 2 kids and has gotten accustomed to a lifestyle, and is just like, yeah, I have 2 kids and I want them to go to nice schools and I have a nice house. Like, and these guys are going to pay me $10 million to,
I think it's
see my act.
I think it's like I said,
and as much as like
yeah.
you know, more like you know, sometimes your job, unfortunately, is more important than your principles. Sometimes you know you could have principles, and you're a single father. You know yourself. Like how many times have you wanted to just up and quit your job over something that was just like in your soul was just like this is not right.
Yeah.
But I have a mother and a daughter I take care of, and I'm gonna swallow my pride and you know try to fix things in other ways. I mean, I don't know what he's doing with that Saudi money, and it's quite frankly none of our business.
Right.
But you know, maybe or maybe not, he's using that money to donate to charity. You know, like you ever see The Godfather 3? Because I'm watching The Godfather right now.
Yeah,
It took me 3 days.
Yeah, it's unfortunate about Godfather 3.
So I took it took me 3 days to watch The Godfather. It's just so I forgot how long it is. Right?
The first two?
Yeah.
No,
like I had to like I took me 3 days to watch The Godfather 1. You know, I'm gonna try to watch The Godfather 2. I know it's gonna take me a week. Like it's I hope not.
Oh,
but,
it's so worth it though.
Oh no, of course it is, right? But I know in the third one, Michael Corleone, he donates a lot of like his dirty money to like charity because he feels so guilty about how he's had to conduct his life to make a living, right? You know, I'm nothing like my father, Kate. You know, it's just it's the same thing. It's just like I don't want like remember in A Bronx Tale when you know he goes, Dad, that's my money. You know what I mean? He's like, that's bad money. I don't want you to have that money. You know, blood money. You know, I don't want you like it comes from you know from people suffering, right? And you know I'm a pretty conservative guy, but like I don't think. And hey, listen, I'm all for anybody making as much money as you possibly can. Be rich, buy the big house, buy the nice car. But there's also a line for me where it's just like I can't justify like you making a profit off of other people's suffering.
This is why I'm going to be conflicted with you know Royal Rumble coming up soon. Mania,
it's in Saudi,
the
right?
year, yeah, and then Mania the year after. You know, this is where my confliction because I've already been on this tool, you know, where it's like I'm not watching that blood money shit. And when it came to their you know their other PLEs and such, and I'll just you know I'll report on it as per readings as such because I don't want to you know I just think that it wasn't necessary for them to make that deal. But like you said. You know, when it came to the deal, you know, make that money. And now you just got a lot of other wrestlers who are buying into it now. We just seen like Sammy now, who was against it. I guess they're making headways. And
well, the thing is just like it could also lead to progress. I mean, think of
well, that's the hope. That's hope.
Pro wrestling is a very American form of entertainment. I remember. A buddy of mine who worked at UPS, and he worked with a Polish immigrant, and they were talking about pro wrestling, and he goes, that's a very American thing. That's an extremely, which is why if you notice, American things overseas are extremely, extremely popular, like something uniquely American.
Look at football. Football's become like,
like
American football's become huge.
The NFL does games over in Europe.
Germany, yeah.
Germany, like they you know, and people fly and people are understanding or getting American football. You know, you're gonna, and you see people born overseas who are now playing, you know, American football. And you have to say the NBA was one of the American basketball and baseball have been the forerunners in hiring talented players from outside of the United States.
Right.
Especially baseball, you know, hiring players from the Caribbean and South America, and you know, the NBA hiring players from Europe and you know, even China and
in Asia,
in Asia, you know, the hottest player in baseball right now is from Japan.
Yeah,
you know, and well, you know, just watch. You know what I'd love to do? I'd like when I wrestle in Japan, I want to go to a Japanese baseball game.
Oh, you should.
I really want
to. Brother AJ had gone. He's gone to the game, and he said it's an experience that you can never forget.
Yeah,
Like, it's just
like a
it's
baseball.
so entertaining.
Yeah, a baseball game in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And I know like what's that Harlem Globetrotters of baseball, like the banana.
Oh, the Savannah Bananas.
Yeah, I know. It's
I watched the game the other day, and I was like, oh my god, this is so fucking fun.
Yeah,
like,
it's fun. Yeah, and then that's what sells, right? And when you go to a place like Saudi Arabia, right, where it's just like we're gonna bring American fun to Saudi Arabia, and people are like, this is cool. You know what I mean? Like, this is cool. This is really, and it's all an opportunity to learn and grow, right? I mean, that's what pro wrestling teaches us. I mean, look at The Godfather, right? Mm-hmm. Like that's one of the greatest American movies of all time, and it's almost a Shakespearean tragedy. Mm-hmm. If you look at the end scene where Michael lies to his wife, right, about Carlo, right, and then the door closes. The door closed. Get it? The door is closed on that kind of world, and she kind of knows the truth, but they're kind of keeping it like under the table. Under the table. That's pro wrestling. That's sports. Sports, even real kind of. I remember one day, a buddy of mine worked in a school, and
move over this way because
I know I can't see.
Bring the mic over that way.
Yeah. It's hard to have a conversation.
Yeah, no, I'm struggling, and the new setup is just like.
Yeah, no, I like it
because I'm more. Look
at the green screen too.
Yeah, I'm more inclined to not have anyone in the studio anymore. So because technology, the only I only have the open door for you and a handful of others.
Why do you love me?
So, so I had to do the setup, but when you talk about the fake
technology, not as much as you see, but I still love technology.
When was that a Simpsons?
No, that's the end of Napoleon Dynamite where he marries LaFonda.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. He's so in love with her. It's so great.
I always say that reminds me of brother AJ. He's hilarious. So it's also the
that smile. I don't want to like that's the magic of storytelling, right? Because she's like, what's he thinking about? She goes, what? He's like, yes, I love to. She's like, letting all strange. He goes, not as much as you see. And her natural smile. She's so beautiful, and the natural smile. She's like, oh my man. And she's clearly so much. She could do so much better,
right?
But she loves her. She loves her kid. Like,
so when we looking at, like I said, when you look at the
LaFonda is the best name. But back to the original point. I asked my buddy, it was the Cavs playing the Warriors, right? Mm. And so it comes back. So he's in a school. It's an inner city school. And I'm just like, what's the storyline for the NBA Finals? And I'm like, I know you know, so don't bullshit me. He goes, Cavs are up by 2 right now. It's game 3. Game 3 is an important game. I'm going over to our mutual friend's house to watch the game tonight because the students were talking about it, right?
Right.
And I was like, the fact that I said, "What's the storyline? What's the story?"
Yeah,
it's the same with fights. It's the same with people want narrative, right? The best movies come from books, right? And Hogan versus Macho Man.
Mm.
Yes, it's who's the best. But it's also like, who's got the girl,
Right.
Sean versus Brett, who's the number one, that was literally about who's the best and 2 egos clashing, right? It's 2 egos. There's like one guy who is moral and the other guy who's not so moral, but it's just like one guy's calling one guy out about his character and, like 2 guys who are clearly the best. Right, that was the story. It's like, this town. It was literally, this town ain't big enough for the 2 of us.
That, and there was always that other element that came from the outside. That there was someone that was like prodding, like the Bobby Heenan who would prod and have to throw his jabs to
And that was Vince McMahon was in that role instead of Bobby Heenan. It was Vince McMahon going like, oh, who's the best, and that silly rumor that is all over the wrestling world now. Yeah, which we don't have to discuss. And I love Bret Hart as much as you know how much I love Bret Hart.
Yeah,
but, listen, you got to make your money somehow. So
listen, this day and age, and that leads to what I'm discussing about the fake as well. Is like this day and age, everybody now is out and about on the podcast world. They're sitting and they're all talking, and just now they're opening up doors and closets, as to say that it's like it's either to get the dollar or we try. It's a smear campaign. It's just why?
Controversy,
Yeah.
scandal,
Yeah,
always since the dawn of time creates interest,
yeah,
right? You see it in the Bible, you see it in Shakespearean novels, you see it on television. You see, like, I did not have sexual. Guy was bombing countries.
yeah.
Guy was legit bombing countries, and they're like, "Yeah, so who'd you have in the White House, bro?" And
Right.
it's just like, "Yeah, but people are dying." Like,
Yeah,
nobody cares about that.
Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, don't pay attention. Like, yeah, like it's I am the great, and and that's why people yearn for what could be true or secrets, and it's just like we like to hide. Every one of us does that, right? It's human nature. Even the most, and I love that song by Everlast. What it's like, I've seen an honest man lie, because we all lie, all of us, right? Even the most honest of us. And every day, ideally, if you have a good program, and I'm not just saying that, and there's no pun intended, when you reflect back on your day, or we try to, and that's why a lot of us have sleeping problems, because there's certain parts of our day where our character is kind of like not aligned with who we are as people.
Right.
If you're a decent human being, at the very least. We try to figure out, like, you ever have to apologize to somebody weeks after you've done something?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Exactly. And you realize, like, oh man, it happens to me at work, where it's like, you ever, even if they're causing their own chaos or their own misfortunes, you kind of like, you have empathy for them, even if they're getting in their own way.
Yeah.
And it's sad, right? I'm sure you've seen that at work, and in the nature and the nature of your job. It's like, man, he's getting in his own way, but how do we treat our, I used to go to college, believe it or not.
Did you?
Yeah, I did. And I had this class about ethics, and the professor was just like, he was this Egyptian guy from Harlem, and he's just like, ethics, what is ethics? He's like, how we treat ourselves and others, right? And then how do we treat ourselves? And it's hard, right? A lot of us wake up and, immediately go for a cup of coffee, and it's like, you know what I mean? Like, how do we take care, and why mental health? Like, that's a very popular phrase right now. Take care of your mental health. Take care of your mental health. But are we really doing that? It's great to, like, it's sexy when men go to therapy, or it's sexy when anybody goes to therapy. Therapy is a very important tool.
Oh yeah,
don't get me wrong.
Hell yeah.
But think about that, a tool, right? You're supposed to implement what you learn in therapy and apply it to your life.
Not just say that you go to it.
Right.
You have to, and you're not supposed to be in it for such an extended period of time.
You can, but that's
depending
like,
on what the therapy is.
Sure.
Yeah,
right?
depending on your diagnoses. If it's there for you to work through issues, that's different, because that needs to be there has to be a set cutoff for it. Because if you're not getting it after a couple of years, you're never going to get it.
Sure.
But if it's a diagnosis like bipolar or depression, that's extended. That's always going to be gonna be continual.
And you have to use that tool,
right?
Like, how often do you cry?
Not often, but when it does, I don't hold back. I do let it out.
Right.
Like today, just as a matter of fact, this morning, Sally was showing me one of her final projects for school, one of her films, and she was using old footage of her growing up, and it hit. It wasn't, and I'm open to tell somebody, yeah, I'm ready to cry. Like, it was like, it's one of those. But as for for a release, not as often as we should maybe.
That's probably why women live longer than us. Yeah. Yes, and no, you shouldn't cry as a man.
At a drop of a hat. But,
you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't cry over everything. But but we also cry over nothing. You know what I mean? Like, we don't cry. We don't cry when we probably need to, or express our emotions, and that's hard for us as just men or people even. Yeah. Which is why we're drawn to, especially dudes who are just like, we like seeing a comeback. Why? I talk to every guy's guy. Talk to them about the Rocky series.
Right.
Right. Talk to them. I tear up every time I hear there is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. And it'd be like, I'm tearing, I'm thinking about it now. Like, it's because, yeah, sure, you take care of yourself. But if you watch that scene, you know, Apollo's he's hitting Rocky, he's hooking, right? He goes, damn, like, and he's letting himself get beat up.
Right.
He's letting, because that's how he feels inside. He's like, Mick died, I've let myself down, I've let my family down, you know what I mean? Like, he's like, damn, come on, you know? It's like, do you want to lay up in the hospital 5 weeks this time? And in it's not said out loud, but he's probably thinking in his core, he's like, yes, I deserve to be, you know, I deserve this. You know, Apollo's beating me up, right? And he goes, no, tomorrow. He's like, there is no tomorrow. There won't be a tomorrow. And it's true. Like, we don't know if there's going to be a tomorrow, right? This is why we have to, like, I know it sounds hippy-dippy, but, like, living for today, right?
Right.
And when that stuff permeates in our lives, right? Or when we see it on a screen, whether it's through sport, whether it's reading a book, or whether you see it every day in life, like the whole, because we're not always here. We're always thinking about the next thing. Oh, I got work tomorrow, or I have this to do, and I have errands to run. So when your daughter shows you a project that she's done for school, and it's about her life, and you're just like, it hits you, because it's just like, I remember this, but, like, was I there? And I was like, I was. And, excuse me, you like, life moves pretty fast, you know?
Yeah.
You don't, if you
It's
don't
like Ferris
stop,
Bueller says.
you don't stop looking around once in a while, you can miss it, because, you know, days like this, right? When you blink and it's just like, geez, she's in college, right? Yeah. Randy Orton's a veteran. John Cena's retiring, you know, and did we really appreciate people? Did we really, you know? That's people will go into their wallets, spend their hard-earned money to, we're not buying things, we buy experiences.
Right.
You know, Christmas is coming, right? Why do we buy other people things? Because they, like, the smile, we're buying smiles on their faces.
Right.
I remember
it's the thought.
And
listen to what they say. It's the thought that counts.
Right. I remember my ex-girlfriend, she was singing and dancing, like, to a song, and it was just like, and I said, you know, she goes, we saw Jason Aldean, right? Big country singer. Mm-hmm. And she goes, you didn't like that concert? I was like, I love that concert. What was better is watching you sing or dance. And her brother was like, that's why it was worth the bucks. And I was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's why it was worth going into my wallet and having a night out to see another person smile or have a good time, you know, or enjoy themselves. Because, like, joy comes in every different shapes and forms.
And believe me, it's going to be moments where you're not going to see it as often when you get older. As you should, and that's why I say, you know, it's thoughtful that you be able to be at the moment and embrace it. I just recently went to Puerto Rico with Sally. It was her graduation gift, and to go back home to the island, I hadn't been there since I was 13 years old.
Wow!
And to go back and just the sounds, the feel,
embrace your culture,
everything.
Embrace the culture,
and to do it with her, it was like, I know I'm not going to get this again. You
could.
It's
right?
not going to be the same. And
it's
then
not.
Knowing that she's getting older and then she's going to be doing stuff in her life with her friends and her, you know, future family and such. You know, you take advantage of those moments and you embrace it. And I told her, I said, you take this and you remember it because you might not get it again with me. You know, the clock is on for everybody.
True. And
you just got to take that for what it is. Do you get emotional with wrestling? Like,
absolutely.
Like, have you cried?
Sure.
For wrestling?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big Eddie Guerrero winning the world title. You know what I mean? Because it's just like, if you watch that promo, you know, with Brock, you know, he's like, you know, there's Latino heat, and then there's Eduardo, right? You know, and they mix together at the same time. And he goes, you know, about, you know, and it hits home for me being, you know, he's like, I am an addict. You know, he takes responsibility, right? and Brock, this giant Viking, is brought to almost to tears, right? With this man saying like, "This is why I'm doing this, and I have to do this," right? And it's like, oh, that's like, because he reached out and grabbed, he grabbed something, you know what I mean? He grabbed a part of you, you know? He touched your heart, and that's important. Shawn Michaels' retirement speech, him going like, "Thanks. I came out here every night and I try to show off, and you're the only thing I had in my life, you." The end of the movie, The Wrestler, right? It's like the only place I get hurt is out there. He goes, "See this? This is where I belong." And he goes through a curtain and he becomes Randy the Ram Robinson. And, that whole like, I'm alone, I deserve to be alone. You know what I mean? Like with his daughter. But then him standing on the top rope and people cheering him. And it's like, oh, these are the people who love me, with all my flaws and all, right? And it's like the whole, does he die? And it's like you assume that he does because he's having a heart attack in the ring. Well, with pro wrestling, it was just like, I remember watching Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels when he gives them the Sweet Chin Music. I remember watching it with my boy, and they're like, they're probably really crying right now. I was like, yeah, you know what I mean? Yeah, because it's emotional. You know what I mean? Like it's Davey and Brett at SummerSlam '92 when he's
London,
just like, he's about to leave the ring and he comes in. It's like, or even better, or not that it's even better, but like comparable, like when Roddy Piper is getting ready to hit Brett with the belt, or the bell. You know what I mean? And he doesn't, and like you hear the crowd go, yeah, or Macho Man embracing Elizabeth. And it's like, it's so emotional, but like then Bobby Heenan's so great because he breaks up the emotion, goes, "This is sickening." and it's because it's just like, so he lost his career and he goes and Gorilla Monsoon makes a good point. He goes, yeah, he's got something much more important, his woman, like a love of a woman, like, and we understand that because that's the human experience, like wrestling, jacked up dudes fighting in funny looking pantyhose could make us feel that way, When
was the last time that they actually did that? I mean,
Cody at WrestleMania.
Yeah,
Cody
you're right.
at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Like
If the story's finished.
It's the returning hero. It's a
Right.
common trope in
Right.
movies and literature. The returning hero. He had to leave and he came back. The prodigal son's return.
Right.
And I remember when the elevator at WrestleMania 38 in Dallas, right? When the elevator raises, and I'm like, that's the guy who's going to beat Roman. Roman didn't even win the title. Not that he didn't. He didn't even beat Brock yet the next night.
Right.
He didn't even beat him, but I knew it was like, there's the guy to beat Roman. He's the one to the Roman Empire to crumble. Like that's the man right there.
Yeah.
Like when I was like, that's the guy. He is like, and when I had the seminar with him a couple years ago at House of Glory when he came as a guest. First of all, that guy came in a suit.
Always pro.
He came in a suit.
Always professional.
When I tell you, as a seminar, he came in a 3-piece suit. I was like, I'm in the ring right now with the face of the industry. He's going to be the face of the industry. I didn't know when, I didn't know how. I just knew in my soul, like, he's going to be the face of the industry.
Yeah, he
and to elicit that kind of when
the
wrestling,
face, the tears, like
and people like Cody cry, like
but it's still emotional because regardless of what you think, a lot of people don't believe that wrestlers would have emotions or really care anymore.
It's all about emotion.
Yeah, and people believe that now. It's just like, you go out there, you get the dollars, you do your 8 to 10 minutes, and you're in the back at a craft service and shit. But then there's those who actually love the business and everything that goes with it.
Unfortunately, because of the nature of how his life ended, right? If you look at the end of WrestleMania 20, right? And it's a very, if you look at it, it's a very violent ending, right? Blood is streaming down somebody's face, and the villain taps out, right? And the underdog, the quiet guy, the guy who worked the hardest, was rewarded.
Mm-hmm.
And the lesson was, if you work hard enough, you will be rewarded. And he was rewarded. And his best friend, who also worked very hard, right, came and applauded him. Because if anybody knew how much that guy worked hard, it was him, And it cost them, and unfortunately it cost them their lives. But it created, it was one of the best endings in just television.
I think the emotion really comes, or maybe it's the other way around. Does the emotion come from the audience first, or does it come from the wrestler first? Meaning that,
well,
it's reciprocal.
If you don't,
but where does it initially come from?
If you don't care,
they'll know it.
They know you don't care. They know when you're phoning it in. It's like, but that's with any line of work. You ever, I'm sure you've worked with people who are just like, this guy cares, but he's on to better things. This guy does not care, and he's not going to last. This guy's just here for a check, and he does enough, like in Office Space, that only make people work hard just enough not to get fired.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with pro wrestling. I am a hand. I am good. Not that I don't care, but like, this is what I do, and I do it well. And then, there are guys who don't care. Who are just like, there's a lot of people who do things just for money. A lot of people. And when you go through the curtain, or when you're sitting down and it comes through the screen, people will,
they'll know it.
They'll know.
Yeah.
They know. No matter what. It's what separates the guys who are to the guys who are okay, to the guys who are good, to the guys who are great, and to the guys who are, up here. It's, I am present, and I am zen, and I am in the moment. And I hope every time I walk through the curtain, like, people could tell I cared, like what I always did. And I know you've noticed, is if somebody was on their phone during my matches, during my act, I called them out. It's like, hey, you taking a picture? Why am I not grabbing your attention?
Right.
And the guy was like, well, I got to pay attention now. He called me out,
Right.
And it makes everybody else pay attention. It's like, no, stay present. I'm putting my body on the line for your entertainment. The least you could do is pay attention.
It's funny you said that, because, like I said, I've been in training for work the past couple of days, and that was one aspect in not only the work but in lives, is that to stay present. That was a key. That was a phrase that was used, because we were either still piggybacking off what we did in the past and looking forward to what we're going to do soon, as opposed to what's happening in the now. And I think that we're not looking. We're looking at the fact that our now might not be as fulfilling as what we think it will be in the future, or what it was in the past.
Well, there's that silly phrase, 1 foot in the past, 1 foot in the future. You shit all over your present, but all you have is right now.
Yeah.
And the thing is like, your present is influenced by your past, and you're thinking about your future. And that's all understandable, and I get it. But if you're not here right now, you're missing opportunity. You're missing whatever opportunity that might come, whatever God, the universe, the spirits, whatever you want to call it. You're just missing out. Period. Right? And it's like you say that, and it's okay if you're not present, because maybe you're not meant to be there. Right? You're not in alignment. You're just like, I've gone on job interviews, and they're like, and I was very honest, and they're like, why do you want to work here? And I was like, I need money. Simply. And some people were just like, okay, well, thank you for your application.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people are like, when can you start? You know,
Yeah. The now, which with you, I'm not gonna go dig too deep, but your now is getting real now. You have real now going on. New career, new profession. You're already almost a year in.
yeah,
Life is about to change for you real quick
sure.
in the next few months and such.
Yeah, I mean, and that I'm trying to take a day at a time.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take that a day at a time because, I never know what could happen, right? I've heard wonderful stories. I've heard horror stories. It's a scary thing, obviously. At the same time, I need to. It's something that, as you know, you need to be present in. You need to be very present, and it's hard to be present, because we're all our own people, right? And we're all trying to figure this thing out. All of us, right? Whether you're 89 or 19 or 9, right? And we all, at every age, even at 89, 59, 39, or 19, need guidance. All of us.
Yeah.
And we all need guidance, and we all need help. And it's hard to ask for help, right?
Yeah.
And we, being selfish is in all of us, is in our nature. It's our survival. How do we survive, right? And we're not, we don't wake up and going like, okay, we're gonna go kill the bear today. That's just not our reality. But it still is, just individualistically, where and again, everything could be a dog-eat-dog world.
Yeah.
And we can get betrayed. So, people are always, you know what I mean, in the situation that we're talking about, I have to be the prime example, right? I have to be an example. And that's hard to do because you're very cognizant, or you could become very cognizant of your mistakes that you will make anyway.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
That you're going to make anyway.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to a priest, and he said the two most important phrases in the English language are "I'm sorry" and "I forgive you." Right? And like, again, we were talking about The Godfather. The scene, and it's a very important scene, it's very underlooked, where Vito talks to Michael about his new position. Because you don't really see Vito transfer power to Michael.
Mm-hmm.
He's just in his office, and he's just like, yeah, Mike's the guy now. And they're like,
anything that goes to my son.
Yeah, exactly, right? And then he sits, and there's only one scene with them two talking. And he goes, and he's in retirement now, obviously. And he goes, are you happy with your wife and children? He's asking typical older father to adult son questions. And, and he's like, I never wanted this life for you. He's like, you had this, and now you're taking over the family business. He's like, I'm not sad about it, but, and I'm not disappointed.
Right.
And I've tried to guide you this way. And apparently this is what you were made for, because of loyalty, because of sense of duty. And that all comes from you, because we like to emulate, you know what I mean? Like, and you're a father of a daughter, right? Whereas, like, you have to set an example of who she ends, if she decides to end up with anybody. Right? Or show her a positive male influence, which, people could say, well, there should be positive people influence. No, I mean, there's a difference between the sexes no matter what anybody says.
And you're responsible for your own actions as well.
But, when are we not, and are we responsible for our own actions? Right? So we were discussing something that came up recently in the pro wrestling industry, something that was pretty vile. Are you accountable for what you say and what you do? And maybe you are. Sometimes maybe you aren't. Why do bad things happen to good people? Why does this happen? Why does that happen? Are you accountable, right? And sometimes people will stand on their word and be like, yeah, I'm being honest as I possibly can be. Life, this is what life threw at me, and this is how I've handled it. Life is throwing something at me, and I'm trying to handle it as best as I possibly can. I'm a human being, right? And we all make mistakes in relationships with everybody, with our romantic relationships, with our, child-parent relationships, with our friends, with our kids, with people on the street. And when you ask, as a human being, how am I feeling, or how does this correlate to your actions or when we're talking about feeling a lot, like how do we feel about other human beings, or how do we treat others, or ethics? We're going back to ethics and what makes us tick, and why, for some strange reason, we're drawn to certain things. We're all just trying to do our best.
Yeah.
Right? We're all just trying to do our best. And, how I met the person that I spend my time with is through pro wrestling, right? And I was reading a book about the person we were talking about before on who won WrestleMania 20. It's called Ring of Hell. And guy does not like professional wrestling. He talks very badly about it. I mean, why do we get into these things, or why do we? It's for adulation, right? Selfish reasons. And in a situation like I'm in right now, you're like, can I be selfish? Sometimes yes, most of the time no.
You need when your selfishness comes in is because you need that moment, you need that time.
Yeah, I mean, and
it's not selfish, but anybody else that's around you should understand that you've given this much away. You need this much for your return. You need something for you.
Right. And, I've been in pro wrestling for almost 20 years. And I was thinking about that on the walk over here. I was just like, I've been involved in this circus for 20 years. And I thought selfishly, like, where is my return? And it's coming. I know my return is coming because I've invested so much of my energy and my time, money.
10,000 hours has gone in.
Yeah, exactly. And to worry about what I'm getting back instead of what I could give. And a lot of people have that mindset of like, when is it's a selfish mindset, right? Like, what about me? What about Raven? What about me? What about Raven? What about Hank? What about me? What do I love, and why am I doing this? I remember I was listening to a podcast with Prince Devitt, and he was like getting ready, and he was like, "Why am I doing this? Why am I doing this?" It's because you love it. Why does this happen? Why are you a father? Because you love the human being that you helped create.
Yeah.
Even if you don't love the person you helped create or with anymore, and that's okay, and that's all okay. And I remember watching Matilda a couple weeks ago, one of my favorite childhood movies. And you're seeing the progression of Matilda, and Danny DeVito narrates. He goes, Matilda figured out at the age of 2, which most people figure out in their early to mid 30s, is how to take care of themselves. How does one take care of themselves? And it's hard, because, again, we've talked about millennials in the stage of arrested development and why we're so nostalgic. How do we take care of ourselves? Why do we yearn for the past? Because it makes us feel good. But we have to live in the present at the same time.
Yeah. I think about one thing that repeatedly has gone through whenever I'm into trainings or whenever I'm discussing stuff with people at work is if you're thinking about making mistakes, you're going to make mistakes. If you if you thinking about have that mindset of not, fumbling the ball, 9 times out of 10 you're going to fumble the ball because everything with you is going to happen. It's going to happen anyway. If you go in the ring and you go, I'm not going to botch this or I'm not going to do that, whatever, your mind gets too focused on not doing it and you end up doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
So when it comes to the next stage in what's going to be your life, you're going to know that, I don't want to fumble the ball. And you're going to fumble. And the best part about it when you fumble, especially with that, is you're going to pick up that ball and you're going to keep running.
Right.
You're not just going to leave it there. You're going to pick up that ball and you're going to keep running.
But people have. People absolutely have.
But you're not going to do that.
No, I don't, because I don't want to.
Yeah, you're not going to do that.
I don't want to.
Because
no matter what happens, and I've met people where, something bad, quote unquote, has happened, or something natural happened, and they've picked up the pieces of a broken heart.
Mm-hmm.
I have met people who have shirked that responsibility, and it's hard not to judge them. I've met people who have had intact situations, and they're unhappy. I've met people with non-intact situations, and they're unhappy. But when you it's hard to have good minds. Like, I woke up negative this morning, and that's hard, and it's just like, and it puts you in a state where it's like, and then that's why I walked here, and I don't live too far away,
right?
Which we'll talk about off here, and it's nice and chilly outside. And it's the walk is good, moving is good, right? And it gives me an opportunity to, let me be here right now. It's Sunday, December 7th, 1940, now to 2025. And that's just your day. And like we've discussed, you never know when your day is coming. Hopefully not for both of us, for everybody in this room right now, or in this house, or under this roof for a long time. But while we're here, it's just like, let's not think about fumbling the ball.
Yeah.
I was working the U.S. Open a couple of years ago, and I was talking to, obviously, big tennis fans. He was a dentist, right? It's a very, very well-to-do sport, tennis. And he was talking to a fellow dentist, a female dentist, and she still plays, according to him. She was playing a very famous tennis
player, star.
A star. She was a star at that point, and she was up 2 games to nothing. And he's like, "Oh my God, what happened?" He goes, "I saw the score, and then I looked at who I was playing, and then the whole game fell apart. Instead of just being here, I saw who I was playing, and I looked at the score, and then I realized, like, oh shit!" Instead of just playing the game, instead of just playing, like, it's you ever see that movie Soul by Disney is great, right? And it's just like being in flow, right? It's like, how do you mess up your flow? Because you're not here.
You say that, reminds me of, and it was doing that as I'm playing Ghost of Yote now, and I was doing it in God of War Ragnarok, when you play these bosses and they're difficult, they're tough, and you finally pick up a pattern, or you finally see what's going on, and you think that you got it, and the moment you look at their meter, you look down, your ass is done.
Yeah,
because you're not in the moment.
You're not here.
You're not there. And as soon as you go up here, that's what I'm trying.
You're thinking about holding the title above your head,
right, before it happens. And that's what I think that it's probably going to be a big learning block for you coming out the gate, is not looking to.
I've ruined many romantic opportunity because I couldn't be here.
Right.
And it's not like I pictured marriage and kids. I pictured retirement and being old and gray
Yeah.
and being in my 80s and arguing over the remote.
Right.
Like that movie Clicked. I skipped life.
Yeah.
You know, I skipped life because I wanted to get to the good part. I wanted to get to the part where this was over, and I didn't want to like. Life comes with pain, folks. I'm sorry. That's like, as everybody knows, and it's hard to say out loud. Life comes with pain, but with that pain comes joy.
And that also recognizing that hurt people hurt people.
Right. Yeah. That doesn't make what they've done excusable, right? But it helps you understand.
It validates why.
Validates. And I'll tell you a story when we get off the mics, because it involves people that I don't want to put on blast.
Yeah, that's good.
And but it's important to have empathy, right? It's what probably makes me a good bad guy. You know, I understand. Like Louis C.K. said he didn't, and this was back in 2011, that he doesn't want his daughters having phones, right? Because he goes, the phone, as I spoke about before, is the Terminator, it's the devil. I'm friends with my Chat GPT. I'm friends with it. It's so it's terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying that I could, like, I'm talking about a situation and it gives me advice, like a good, like, and it's good advice.
Yeah.
It's understanding the human condition. But you know, this whole cyberbullying thing, remember that? Like, I'm sure it still goes on. If I say, yo, your eyes are crossed and your skin is too red and you're bald, right? And I know you for years and I could laugh, but like, if I've never met you before and I see like the anger on your face or the hurt, you know, I could be like, oh man, that hurt him, you know, or oh, like I could see, but through a phone, I can't.
You can't see it.
I can't see you, right? Because it's invisible, right? It's the same thing with text. You ever text a woman and you're saying all this crazy shit, and then when you finally go out on that date and you're both like, oh, hi,
How you doing?
How you doing? And it's like, yeah, where was this energy?
Right.
This is because we're not rapping like this. It's so comfortable to be anonymous. It's so comfortable because like you don't have to be responsible.
Well, it's funny that it's because I was listening to a podcast as well where it's like all these people who have such negativity to say about a person on a podcast or in said moment in the world have no flaws. They're perfect because they're not overweight. You know, they don't have any insignificant parts of their body or looks. They don't have any personality traits that may be deemed no, because their world is perfect. But they're so easily to point at somebody else and goof on them or pick on them to bully them. But when you look at their socials, you look at their pictures, and they become exposed, that bully shuts down.
Sure, right?
Yeah.
And it's a hard, like, a lot of I was at confirmation for my confirmation for my students.
Wow.
I know, third grade. They were in the third grade. And I'm a religious guy, you know, yourself. But sometimes we really don't understand. They're in 13, 14. I remember when I made my confirmation 21 years ago.
Jeez.
But I remember, like, one thing I remember my confirmation name, which I got from Bart Simpson, you know, Bartholomew, right? Which is one of Jesus' disciples. And I remember what I did with my confirmation money. I bought Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and SmackDown versus Raw. But the lesson, I was actually listening in mass this time, right? Because the ceremony back then was so long.
Right.
Went to a big parish. It was like 300 kids getting confirmed out of like the 12 in my Catholic school. And it was the lesson was reaping what you sow, right? It was like, use what you sow and stuff will grow out of, you know, it's like you reap what you sow. Now you can't just look at what, you know, you sowed all the time, you know, and you can't just overly water it.
Right.
And I was thinking, like, they get you to do good things like community service. And it took me years to do that community service, years, and it came in other ways. And a lot of life lessons or growth comes through suffering. And a lot of times we don't want it because, you know, sometimes we suffer not through fault of our own. And sometimes we do suffer through fault of our own, right? And we don't want to go through that suffering to become better people, right? We learn through growth, unfortunately. You know, for example, it's a crazy example, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. It's a good organization that came through
A tragedy.
A tragedy, you know. It shouldn't have to take planes flying into buildings for us to be good to one another.
Right.
Right. And the thing is, it starts with you. And it goes back to pro wrestling. It's just like why people are willing to go through or go into their wallet, spend their hard-earned money to watch you is because this person cares. This person cares. And you could sense it through the screen.
I'm hoping that
and if you don't believe me about care, watch the Jets on Sunday.
Listen, I hope for the best. That's another word that I've been using lately is hope. I'm hoping for the best for them because that team really needs a lot of hope going for them.
Yeah, but it's like it's one. You know, we keep going back to movies, but like, you ever see One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest?
Of course.
And when he tries to break out, and he moves the water can, and he's trying, and everybody's looking at him, and he couldn't, but he goes, "Damn it! At least I tried." And that's the point.
Yeah, like I said, with that's what's gonna be from here on out, especially for me. I just I recently approached a couple of people and I told them, I says, I don't know how much longer I have doing this, which is my gig, not podcasting, but my job, my professional life, because what I do is like in wrestling, the body takes its toll.
Sure.
And as much as you could say it becomes a callus, it's not good in my profession that grow that callus on your mouth because you don't become empathetic anymore. You start to remove yourself from who you're dealing with. And I don't want that to be how I go out. And I don't want that to be something that happens in my personal life because it happens as well.
Sure. Take your work home.
Right. So
That's the problem I'm having.
I'm trying to give back to the younger people and say, hey, listen, the opportunities that they're giving to me, I'm going to try to get it for you, or certain people, because it needs to be. But I'm hoping that with wrestling, which would always ties down to here at Hank's Happy Hour, as always, because
it's my life.
The hours here. That with wrestling, we get that same feeling and emotion that we do when we see older wrestlers still doing it or going out the door. Like I'm excited to see the Hardys one more time because we know that that's not going to be happening anymore. Not for down the line. I'm excited to see the emotion that's going to happen when Cena is having his last match next Saturday. And I'm hoping that continues on with the wrestlers that we have on to this day, hoping to carry that feeling of
the care.
And
I care.
So, but,
and people will notice when you care.
Yeah.
Always. Whether it's in romantic relationships, friendships. And we have relationships with wrestlers on our television. So why, when wrestlers pass away, when Hulk Hogan passed away, God rest his soul, like people were legit hurt. Mm-hmm. And of course there's a lot of controversy surrounding him. He was not a perfect human being. But some people were just like, he made me feel something. And that's why people were so hurt by Terry Bollea, God rest his soul. It's because I loved you and you hurt me.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
And that's we had Hulk Hogan had a relationship with people, through a television screen.
That's always a thing that when we while closing out Hank's Happy Hour now is the fact that we're looking at
Bar's closing.
All right, guys, you ain't gotta go home, but you can't stay here. The one thing that we have to say is, with the new coming year, there's gonna be, like you mentioned there, a lot of hope that's there and a lot of progress. And I think that this is going to happen with you. Are we looking back, getting into that ring?
Yeah, absolutely. I have to.
Yeah.
People are asking me. And,
you're getting reached out by
people.
Yeah.
And it's
good. The itch is there?
It always has been.
Yeah.
And I just have to square myself away for it.
Yeah, listen.
It's
prioritizing now.
Yeah, I have to, it's... I want to live the way I want to live, and life will force you to structure yourself, no matter what.
But
we live in a world of structure.
I missed you, my brother. It's been a long time.
Yeah. Saw you in May.
Yeah. Been
May.
a minute.
Yeah, I know.
But once again, let everybody know where they could get you at and what's coming down the line.
It's coming down the line. Return to the ring in 2026.
Are we going to be putting out fires? Are we going to be in a different gear?
No. Doofus. Return to the ring, and that's all I'll say.
All right, brothers. As always, for you people who've been listening and chiming in, make sure you check us out on all the social media outlets. Check us out on the like and group page on Facebook. Make sure you check us out on Instagram and as well as on the TikTok on New York Wrestle Media. I want you to come back because
TikTok.
Now we're on Rumble. And on Rumble it's a little bit more open, a little bit more free to do stuff there. So I would like to do watch-alongs with you.
What do you want to watch?
Oh, your favorite matches of all time, and I want you to do.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll do that because you could do that there on Rumble. You don't have to get the ixnay from the YouTube A when you watch stuff. So
the Empire.
But we'll talk about it. You follow us on Rumble as well, guys. Make sure you follow us there. It's a different term because Rumble's a bit conservative, but that's good in a certain way. But as always, guys,
let go of the.
Check you guys in a sec.
New York Wrestle Media.
Sit, turn type, sit. Good boy. Ruff.